Shedeur Sanders just exposed the NFL's dirtiest secret. And it wasn't with his arm strength or his touchdown passes. While everyone's celebrating his historic debut, there's a controversy brewing that could destroy the league's reputation forever. The reactions from Skip Bayless, Ochocinco, and even his own family. They weren't about football. They were about survival. By the end of this video, you'll understand why Skip got absolutely destroyed for telling the truth, why Ochocinco's praise felt so careful, and why this debut represents the death of fair competition in professional sports. When Shedeur stepped onto that field, he wasn't just carrying a football, he was carrying evidence of a system that values your last name more than your talent. And what happened next? The NFL's carefully hidden secret got exposed on live television. But here's what you didn't know, and this changes everything. Everyone knows Shedeur as Deion's son, but that label is exactly the problem. This isn't about a talented quarterback following family footsteps. This is about a young man carrying the weight of an entire industry's guilty conscience. Think about it. When's the last time an NFL rookie generated this much controversy before playing a single professional snap? Here's the uncomfortable truth. It's not about talent anymore. You want to know what really happened before his debut? The pressure wasn't coming from fans or media. It was coming from within the NFL itself. Locker room whispers, front office conversations, behind closed-door meetings asking the question nobody wanted to voice publicly. Is he here because he earned it, or because of who his father is? But wait, there's something even more disturbing. The league knew this controversy was coming. They prepared for it, and their response reveals everything you need to know about where professional football is heading. That preparation? It showed during his first game. When Shedeur Sanders took that first snap, something extraordinary happened. And I'm not talking about his stats. I'm talking about an entire industry holding its breath, realizing they were witnessing either their vindication or their nightmare coming true. The numbers were undeniable. 23 completions out of 31 attempts, 2 touchdown passes, 0 interceptions, a quarterback rating that had veteran analysts scrambling for superlatives. But here's what those highlight reels won't show you. Watch the footage again. Every time the camera cut to Shedeur on the sideline, his expression wasn't celebration or confidence. It was the look of someone who knew every play was being judged, not for its merit, but for what it represented in the larger conversation about privilege and opportunity. The most telling moment? Fourth quarter, 30-yard completion. Perfect spiral. The crowd erupted. Commentators went wild. But Shedeur's reaction revealed everything. He didn't celebrate. He immediately looked towards the coaching staff. Not for praise, for validation that he belonged there. That moment of doubt. It triggered something none of them expected. The reactions to Shedeur's debut weren't commentary. They were battle lines being drawn in a war over professional football's soul. And what happened next exposed fractures deeper than anyone imagined. Deion Sanders Jr.'s response came first. You'd think a big brother would be purely supportive, right? Wrong. His social media posts revealed defensive positioning that suggested the Sanders family was prepared for war. When he said, "My brother earned everything he got," that emphasis on earned wasn't accidental. They knew the attacks were coming. Then Skip Bayless stepped into the hornet's nest. He suggested Shedeur's opportunity might have been influenced by factors beyond pure talent. The backlash was swift and brutal. But here's what nobody wants to admit. Skip was saying what half the league was thinking privately. The problem wasn't that Skip was wrong. The problem was that he said the quiet part out loud. When you can't question circumstances without facing career-threatening backlash, you know you've hit a nerve. Ochocinco's take seemed supportive, but revealed something more complex, if you read between the lines. His praise was carefully worded, almost diplomatic. Unusual for someone known for speaking his mind. Kevin Stefanski and Emmanuel Acho provided professional analysis, but even their objective breakdowns carried undertones of conversations happening behind closed doors. But the most shocking revelation was still coming. Let's address the elephant everyone's dancing around. Is the NFL becoming a legacy league where connections matter more than ability? Before you start typing angry comments, hear me out. The evidence is more disturbing than you think. Here's the uncomfortable reality. NFL front offices are businesses first, entertainment second, and merit-based systems last. When a player brings built-in name recognition, media attention, and marketing opportunities, that's valuable regardless of performance. Shedeur Sanders doesn't just bring quarterbacking skills. He brings the Sanders brand, the social media following, the storylines that sell jerseys. But here's where it gets really dark. Sources within the league, I'm protecting identities for obvious reasons, suggest Shedeur's path involved conversations that had nothing to do with college stats or combined performance. Marketing meetings, brand discussions, revenue projections. All happening before he threw a single professional pass. Does this mean he doesn't deserve to be there? That's not the point. The point is that the system supposedly rewarding pure talent has evolved into something potentially corrupting. And Shedeur's debut became the lightning rod for a conversation the NFL desperately doesn't want to have. The real question isn't whether Shedeur can play. His performance answered that. The real question is whether we're okay with a league where your last name matters as much as your arm strength. But the implications go far beyond one player. Here's where this gets scary for professional football's future. If Shedeur succeeds, and early signs suggest he will, it validates a model that could fundamentally change talent evaluation. We're looking at a future where legacy players become more valuable than unknown talents from small schools. Think about the ripple effects. College coaches recruiting based on last names, not just ability. High school athletes evaluated on social media presence and family connections. This is already happening in other sports. But there's an even more concerning scenario. If Shedeur fails to meet expectations, the pressure is enormous. It could create backlash against all legacy players. Talented athletes punished for having famous parents. Here's my prediction. We'll see more legacy players in coming years, not fewer. The Sanders experiment proved that name recognition drives engagement. Engagement drives revenue. The league has tasted that apple. There's no going back. But what happened next changed everything. Remember that darker story I mentioned at the beginning? Here it is. Shedeur Sanders' debut wasn't about football. It was a test case for whether the NFL can maintain the illusion of merit-based competition while embracing entertainment business reality. And he passed that test with flying colors. Not just with field performance, but with handling pressure, controversy, and impossible expectations. Whether you think he deserved the opportunity or not, he proved he belongs. But here's the question, keeping every football fan awake at night. What happens to unknown talent? Small school prospects? Players without famous last names, who might be better, but will never get the same opportunities? The reactions from Skip, Ochocinco, Emmanuel Acho, and Deion Jr. weren't about Shedeur's performance. They were about their positions in a changing landscape where legacy and entertainment value matter as much as talent. Shedeur threw 2 touchdowns in his debut. More importantly, he threw a spotlight on issues the NFL has been hiding. The shocking truth? This is just the beginning. His success or failure determines not just his career, but every legacy player coming after him. The pressure isn't about wins and losses, it's about professional football's future. So here's my question. Did Shedeur's debut prove talent wins or expose a rigged system? Drop your take below and hit subscribe if you want the stories nobody else will touch. The NFL just changed forever, and this is only round 1.